Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I was halfway doing this, talking about growing up in church and all that, but I got rudely interrupted by my sister and she rang me twice, so I had to answer that and the video got cut off. And I don't know if I can put it together or not, so I'm just gonna redo it. So yeah, for those that don't know me, I'm a very much typical person that swears a lot. I don't know why. It's just who I am. Like I do swear quite a bit. Um, I feel like if my dad was still around, he'd kill me because I swear so much. Because he was never like. I mean, he swore like anything as well. But it was never around us. Um, and like it was only as and when, like, if something wasn't going the way he wanted it to, or whatever. But that was just who we are, really. And like my family aren't religious at all. Like, we never got encouraged to go to church as kids and all that. Like I just happened to stumble across it as a child, um purely by accident, I think. I don't know, I feel like maybe some people would say that it was kind of like God's way of calling me to church and that. I don't know. But I remember being a kid and on like a Sunday, and that looks mad. Being a kid on a Sunday and like playing out with my friends and that, and like after dinner, because the church started at 4 o'clock on, well, the one I went to, anyways. Um, I don't think I even knew that either. I don't even know that I knew that it started. Oh no, I think there was a sign. There was like a board sort of thing that said what time the church started and that. But I knew the place anyways because I used to walk past there as a child, to get to school and that. So there was that. But I remember being like a little kid and just sitting out, like I'd stand outside. Um, yeah, I'd stand outside the place, and there was like this big, like I absolutely love it. Like I still do to this day. Like as an adult, there's this big fat off tree, um, that's opposite the church, and I'd stand there as a kid, and I don't know. There was something that just fascinated me about the place. I don't know what it is, and I don't know. Um, I don't know. There was just something about it that sort of fascinated me as a kid, and I'd just stand there and like you could hear the music and all that, and them singing. And the one day, I just decided to go in and sit right at the back. Um, Now I have been told by one of the women that have known me since I was a kid. Her name's Claire. Well, her name isn't actually Claire, but that's what I'm going to call her for my YouTube video. Um, but I remember Claire told me that once that she remember seeing me as like a little kid, coming in and just sitting at the back. No, I don't even remember this at all. Like I don't even remember her spotting me or anything like that. I thought I was being like quite clever, I guess. I don't know. I just remember going in and sitting at the back of this at the church and that. Just literally what I did, really. But I don't know how often I did that really either. Because I have such like a terrible memory. I don't know. But yeah, that was like that. And then as I got older, we heard about the kids club that was running there, and me and my sister went there for a while. And obviously, then we grew out of as we got older, we became too old to go to that one because it was like for primary school ages. So it was like kids from the age of 6 or 7 to 10 or 11. So you go from like year 3, yeah, from like year 3 up to year 6, and then obviously you were then too old for it. But I remember just like really enjoying going as like a kid, and it was like each week was different. One week it was team games, next minute it was crafts and all that, and there was like I remember there being doing like plays at Christmas and all that sort of stuff, and there was um what was it called? There was like a prize sort of bin if you'd like behaved and that. And like, you know, it turns out that it wasn't that at all. It was literally just they'd sort of pick a name out of the kids that were there and that, and they'd choose who would get it that week and sort of make it fair. So each kid, you know, at least every kid that week would get, my hair's a mess, that would, you know, would get a prize to make it fair and that. And then I remember going as like a teenager and just helping out and that, and just seeing how much kids loved going as well. Like, I mean, I loved going because it was something to do that was way too much. You know, it was never anything to do with social services or anything like that, and that was like my ideal sort of thing, really, because I absolutely hated being associated with social services as a kid. And so, you know, going to this kids club was just perfect for me because it was a place where I could be a kid for a bit. And yeah, like, I know now that Claire really looked out for us growing up because that was part of her job. But as we got older and we became teenagers and that, the church service moved from where the kids club was to my school. And then we started going to that. We started going to the one at the church, at the school, for like, well, until it moved, really, until it moved back around here. And it was just weird. Like, I remember going and just seeing people like putting their hands up, and, you know, someone would come up and be like, oh yeah, I've got a word from God, and, oh, God has put my heart to say this, this and this, or whatever. And I think that was so strange because it's sort of so foreign to me, because obviously it's nothing that I ever grew up with. And it was just weird because it's like, how do you know that God said this to you? How do you know God's put this on your heart or whatever? It was just weird to me. And but it was just a really great place to be. It was like such a sort of safe space to kind of be yourself, really. I mean, I had a hard time with that because it's like, well, I don't really know who I am. I still don't. I'm working that out now as an adult. But it was weird to me because it's just like, how do you know this sort of stuff? Like, how can you stand there and be like, yeah, well, God said this, God's put this on my heart and whatever. Ugh, crap. I'm so unorganised. But it was just weird to me because it's like, how do you know this sort of stuff? How do you know for certain what God has said and what he hasn't said and all this sort of jazz? It was just completely and utterly mind-boggling to me because this is like something completely new and different to what I was used to. You know, because at the kids club, it was never really pushed on us to sort of believe or whatever. Yes, there was a guy there that was that was Claire's dad. And like, obviously it was like all family and that, and they were absolutely sound. Like, the nicest people you will ever proper meet, and that man. Like, the bloke is so fucking sweet. Like, I love him to bits, I swear down. And the kids had that level of respect for him as well. And this is what, you know, people will come down from like the other churches and that and be like, they'd be so surprised at how like well behaved and how much respect the kids have got for him. I'm just like, well, yeah, because he shows that to us. Like, why wouldn't we? You know, he shows us, he always listens to us, like, you know, complain about school, or, you know, say like, oh yeah, well, we fallen out with blah blah because of, you know, some daft reason, or, you know, like me and my sister would fall out over something that I'd either wind her up or whatever, and then he'd listen to that. And then obviously going to this church on a Sunday at my school was weird to me, because it was just like, why? Like, you know, there's people there that are putting their hands up and they're praying and all that and speaking in tongues and whatever. And that was mad to me. And yeah, like, I remember being, 14, 15, going and just, you know, they put out the whole, you know, if you're not a Christian right now, put your hands up and we'll pray for you and blah, blah, blah. And we'll help you on your journey and that. And I don't feel like, I mean, at the time, I did it just to sort of follow the bandwagon, because, I don't know, I felt like I was supposed to. Because of the people that were around me and that. Bit of a daft reason, if you ask me. But I did it anyways. And yeah, that was my life for quite a while. Just going to church every Sunday, and like, you know, because I genuinely thought that that's what you do. No one really told you any different. You know, it's just one of them, isn't it? And like, you know, I feel like as I've gotten older, my walk with God hasn't really, like, it hasn't sort of, you know, you hear like these amazing testimonies about like, you know, God's called me to do this, this, and this, and you know, God's put on my heart to, you know, say this, this, and this, and whatever. And I'm just like, I don't feel like I have that. I don't know. And there are things that like I can't do because it's just weird to me. And it makes me sort of feel really weird about it. But I love going to church. Simply because of the people that are around me, like, especially like, you know, Claire, she's, why, this is annoying me now. This is such a bad idea, doing a chatty video as well as doing my makeup. I'm trying to like film on my phone, but I feel like the camera, and I think it's because my phone's like that. But yeah, Claire was one of the few people that genuinely looked out for us as kids, and I didn't really get it as you know, it was just, I always thought that that was part of her job, and which it was. You know, she was assigned to us as kids at our primary school, but she still looked out for us as you know, as we got older. She sort of had that, I guess, you know, with working with kids like us, you know, you don't really get to see them sort of grow and become adults and that, and sort of see them sort of enter the adult world and sort of deal with stuff. But with Claire, she did. She had that chance to sort of watch us grow into adults and lead our own lives. Yes, it was different to probably what she expected it to be. But I remember, again, I can remember being like 14, 15 and giving my life to God and becoming a Christian and that, because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And I just kind of followed on from there, really. Like, it never really changed. Like, my whole personality is just what you see is what you get with me. Like, I absolutely love going to church because I get to see certain people. Yes, I am rubbish at making friends and making sort of conversation with people and sort of meeting new people and that, but that's just me. But, you know, it's just who I am, really. But I really enjoy going to church, and yeah, it's probably not what you'd expect from someone like me, someone that swears a lot, that, you know, kind of is like the opposite of what people would say that churchgoers are, really. But I don't feel like that should really be like this sort of, not so much turning point, but like it shouldn't be a hindrance on whether you should go to church or not, whether you swear or whatever, because I don't swear around people at church. Excuse me. Yes, there is one certain person that I do swear around, but he's kind of like me. You know, we've kind of grew up with not really sort of a religious sort of outlook on things, and well, I don't really know his life that well, but it's kind of, you know, from my perspective, my family weren't religious, but my mum still let us go to church, and that it was never anything that stopped us going. Um, it was always, you know, we sort of went because, you know, we liked going and that, and it was as simple as that, really. And it was just, I don't know, it's hard to explain because like someone like me that, you know, isn't really sort of one that would say that, oh yeah, well I do this, this and this and sort of brag about it or whatever. It's just one of them, really. Like, I love going to church because I get to see certain people and that. And that's my main reason for going, is because I get to see people. And now, as a 30-year-old woman, I don't know, I feel like sometimes there are so many things that change within my church, and it's just like, I don't really get it, because it's like, I was really close with this one pastor at our church, and you know, he said all the right things, I guess, to make himself look good or whatever, and then he left, and then his whole personality changed, and we never heard from him again, and that made no sense to me. And yet someone like Claire, she could have been like that. She could have been being like, you know, been like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna look out for you while you're at school, while you're at this primary school and that, but then once you leave here, like, you know, I don't want nothing to do with you or whatever. Like, you know, she could have been like that, but I feel like, I don't know if it's just that sort of relationship that I had with her, because me and her are quite tight. You know, we do get on really well, and that, and we have got quite a close bond. I don't know whether it's because of that or whether she genuinely, like, I feel like, in my personal opinion, I genuinely do feel like she cares about us. And just even just starting as like a little kid and going from there, really, like, you know, I mean, what child goes for a walk, and then ends up outside the church? Like, it's unheard of, really. You know, it's never really sort of a thing, but that was me. You know, and, you know, it's just, I've made some really good friends at that church, but they don't sort of stick around. And I don't know, it's weird because, like, I never thought that I'd ever be one to sort of be like, yeah, I go to church. Like, I actually enjoy going to church on a Sunday. Yeah, half the time I ain't got a clue what they're about, because obviously they're talking about the Bible, and like they can pick out like what it means and like the translations and all that, which to this day still boggles my mind, because I don't understand it at all. But it's one of them, and it's just, you know, that's just how I am, and I feel like that's probably like, there's probably like many people like that, but you don't see it because all you see are people that, you know, can really sort of understand the Bible, and they can sort of I guess sort of pick it out from whatever they can pick up. They can hear a scripture and be like, oh yeah, well, this is this and this, you know, this is this chapter whatever or verse whatever, you know, and it's just one of them. But even as a kid, and going to kids clubs and helping out, and then going there as a teenager and sort of giving my life, there are so many people that just think because I haven't been for a while that my walk with God has changed, or I'm new or whatever, because they don't know me, because I don't chat to them. It's funny because some people have that assumption, like they know who I am, they've seen me about it at church and that, and they're like, oh, so do you believe? I'm like, well, I wouldn't be here otherwise. Like, I mean, yeah, like, I'm not super religious. Like, I'm not going to shove it in your face and that, because that's how I was shown as a kid from these people, you know, from Claire and her family. You know, they are what I would call, like, religious people, but it's not their whole personality. You know, like, she's a funny person. Like, you wouldn't think it, but she does make me laugh. And, like, she genuinely does care about people. And you can see that. You can see that in her personality. And you can see that, you know, throughout, like, people that are around her as well. And it's just, you know, one of them. And it's like, I feel like, I always felt like if I was to get, like, more tattoos and that, I felt like, you know, maybe I would get judged for it and that. But no one cares. They really don't care. And I don't even think Claire's even noticed my tattoos, to be honest. I don't know. But it's just one of them, like, she's never really been one. You know, there are certain people at church that will turn around to my sister and be like, you know, over the years and been like, oh, so have you got a Christian boyfriend yet? Have you got a Christian boyfriend yet? Or whatever. And then with Claire, she's never been that. She's never really been sort of one to sort of question me about relationships or whatever. We just sort of chat and we catch up, and she sort of supports me as and when I need it and that. And sometimes I don't even realise I need it, and she's there. And that's the one thing I love about her, you know, because she's there for me even when I don't feel like I need to. I need it, and she's always you know, she tells me off for, like, you know, putting myself down and all that sort of stuff. And she's always been, like, one of the most encouraging people ever in my life, and sort of offering support and that. And it's never been like, oh, what if you come to church and, you know, well, people can offer you support and prayer and all that. And it's never been that at all, you know, whether you go to church or not. And I feel like for someone like me that's, you know, grew up in Chalmers in that supposedly, like, quote unquote rough area, like, I technically did grow up in church, which is weird to say, but I did. Yeah, not in the most typical way that you would think, like going to church every Sunday, but as a kid, I'd stand outside. You know, I'd sit right at the back. I don't even know. Again, I need to find this out, but it sounds like, I don't know, as much as I want to find out whether because obviously, I don't know, she has said that she did see me in that. But I don't ever remember, like, I always felt like no one saw me, like, walking and sort of, whether she knew, like, how often I'd come down and sort of sit at the back and watch and that. I don't know whether I stayed for the whole service or whether I just popped in and then buzzed off or whatever. I don't know. But I felt like, I don't know, I felt like weird enough going to church has sort of helped me grow a little bit as a person, as much as I don't know who I am now, because like, you know, I don't know who I am, because, you know, most of my life has been my mum's carer, and so that was my identity as just her carer and her daughter. And now I'm 30 and it's just, well, what now? You know? And I'm trying to figure that out, and, like, you know, I just feel like people, like, don't get church properly the way I do, and they just see it as, you know, I see it as the experiences that I've had, because, you know, I've had, you know, the most, I guess, strangest experience, because no one really sort of has the same experiences as me, you know, as going as a kid and just sort of the most random things of just sitting at the back, you know, sort of, I guess I was curious. I don't know what drew me to it, whether that was God or whatever, I don't know. And it's not something I usually talk about, because it's just, like, what do I say, really? It's like, you know, people have, like, these most amazing testimonies about, like, how, you know, they've been called to certain areas and all that, and I'm just like, cool, good for you, God star. But I just don't get it. And that's just me, innit? Like, that's just who I am as a person. And I love church, I really do. You know, as much as I'd love to be more involved with it as well, you know, timing isn't right for me at the moment because of, you know, I'm back at work now. Well, trying to be. And I just don't feel like it's the right timing. Like, I'm trying to figure out who I am as a person and that. And I feel like I need this time to sort of really understand that. But again, just being at that place, really, it's sort of almost second nature now. It's like home. You know, it's where I grew up. You know, it's where most of my memories are, is being at that place, being at the kids club, and just being a kid. You know, I wasn't a foster care kid. I wasn't a kid to a parent that was basically an alcoholic or a disabled mother. I was just a kid. I was like any other kid at that school. I wasn't treated any differently or anything like that. Yes, we had that like, I think we sort of, our bond grew stronger as I got older, as I've become more of an adult. Um, like, you know, we used to catch up when I was doing my hairdressing and that, and she'd sort of support me in anything and everything, and I really appreciated that. And it's mad to look back on it now because there's always been certain people in my life that have been there when I least expected it. Like, they've been around and kept in my life. They've stayed in my life because they've wanted to, and they've shown that genuine love and care for me. Whereas other people, I don't get that impression. Like, you know, I made like really good friends with this one bloke at church, and then his whole view on the religion and everything like that changed, and so he went to a different church, and now we don't speak as much now. Well, we don't even speak hardly ever these days. And I don't know, it just seems weird because there are so many people in that church that will ask you about your relationships and are you seeing anyone new, anyone like that, like anyone, you know, if you got a Christian, like, you know, like there's certain woman at church that was always like questioning my sister, she got a Christian boyfriend yet, but yet that same question was never applied to me. And then even when I started dating my ex, Claire never said a word about our relationship. And I'm assuming, because obviously I don't know her mind. I'm assuming it was because she didn't say anything because she saw that, I guess she saw it wasn't her place to say anything. I don't know whether that's just her personality, just not to put in or whatever. I don't know. But she probably knew that if I needed anything, I would have gone to her and spoken to her, which I probably wouldn't have. But she kind of knew that I would. Which sounds so fucking daft. But it's just what it is. And like, you know, there's her parents that again have always looked out for me over the years. And I just, it's mind-boggling how like the church have had this effect on me, and like, and as an adult now, it's like I actually enjoy going to church because it's where I grew up and that. Yeah, it's a weird sort of upbringing of like, you know, going there as a little kid and just sitting in the service. Like, I don't even remember much about it. I remember standing outside by the big. There was like this big fat off tree that's still there now, which I absolutely love. I remember standing there. There was like this like metal fence thing. It's not really like, I don't know what you call it really. But I remember standing there by the tree and just hearing the music and that. I don't know what if that sound again. I don't know if that was what that sort of called me in, because music has always fascinated me. I don't know. I think it's due again down to my parents and that. Like, they were always into music and that, so it kind of got me into it. I don't know. I don't know whether it was just something that fascinated me as a kid that was kind of different. I don't know. But again, I just enjoyed going as a kid, and like just turning up at like for, I don't even remember how long I was there for either. Like, I don't know if I stayed for the whole service. I don't know if it was just an in and out job. I'm assuming it was an in and out job, to be honest. But I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong, and it was just like, you know, I'd go in and sort of watch the service really. But it's strange though, because someone like me that swears and sort of isn't what you would think a religious person is, because like you always, I feel like there's a lot of assumptions that they've got like a sort of almost certain way about them, like, you know, their whole sort of personality is their sort of beliefs and that, and they haven't got anything interesting after that. And that's what I assume, because it's, you know, someone from like, you aren't really gonna see someone from Chelmsley being super religious and that, like, it's just nothing. Well, it's not something you really see every day, because we are such like a nosy bunch of people, and we just sort of mind our own. It's not really anything. But, you know, I do believe, and I don't read my Bible as much as I should. But again, I don't feel like that changes the fact that I am Christian, you know. And it's just, it's weird to think that people sort of try and dictate that that's who you are, like that's who you should be. You should read your Bible. You should do this. You should pray because of this, and this, and God will do this, and this for you if you do this, and this. I'm like, but it's not about that though. Like, that's how my perspective of it is. You don't have to do all those things to sort of have that sort of relationship with God, and that from what the pastor taught us as kids, you know, at the kids club, it was just, you know, if you believe and you do what you think is right, then God's gonna love you anyways. You know, there's always that unconditional love, and sort of, it's simple, and that's just how it is. Like, you know, it's sort of, you know, a lot of people at church have, well, especially I felt like, again, going back to Claire, because she has been the most prominent person in my life as a kid, you know, from a child up until now. Like, she's always been there, like, no matter what, I've been going through, she's been there for me, and like just always sort of been around in that. And I don't know, it sounds stupid just to thank her, because it's just like, you know, in one way she was just doing her job when we were little, but then it's sort of, it became more than that, you know. She sort of, she had that chance to watch us grow and sort of become adults and that, and sort of deal with stuff. But yeah, like, I do, you know, I do go to church, and I do sort of do what I can and that, but half the time it's just, I don't know, I don't like being put on the spot, and I don't feel like, you know, and I feel awkward when like people are like, oh yeah, well, you know, because they have like these most amazing testimonies about like, oh yeah, well, you know, oh, God put this on my heart, or, you know, they have like these amazing testimonies like, I was in such like a bad place, and then, you know, I started going, I knew somebody that was a Christian, and they sort of encouraged me to go to church and all that. And then, you know, I really felt it in my spirit to just sort of, I really felt it on my heart to become a Christian, and, you know, he really changed my life and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, that's nice. I don't have that. Like, I literally became a Christian I was initially because that was like, I was kind of following the trend as a kid, as a teenager, really. Like, you know, everyone was doing it. We in a group, the four of us would go, and we all put our hands up, and sort of, it stuck with me anyways. I don't know about the others, because we're all like completely different now, and but in ways, going to church has sort of helped my confidence, and sort of sort of not so much changed my personality, but sort of kind of helped me sort of build it, I guess, build my personality in a way. And sort of I don't know, it's hard to explain. I just feel like, it's like I hate being put on the spot, and it's just, I don't know, it's like, people sort of like share their testimonies and that, and I'm just like, I have nothing interesting to say. Like, everyone's testimonies about when they gave their life to God are so good and so interesting. I'm just like, I did it because everyone else did it as a teenager, and it just sort of stuck with me, and that's it. And I do what I do because, it's like, people are just like, oh, you're so good for, you're such like a good Christian daughter for looking after your mum and blah, blah, blah and all that. I'm just like, but she's my mum. Of course I'm going to look after her. Like, that's just who I am, innit? Like, it was just, someone had to do it, and it was me. So, excuse me, and that was that. But yeah, that's my, that's me growing up as a Christian. Well, not growing up in church, really. I wish it was still on, to be honest. I wish the kids club was still being run, because I feel like there's so much that could be done for this area, especially for like the kids and that, because there isn't anything for them to do anymore. The parks are crap because there's no lights and that, and it's just, there's nothing to do. And like, I feel like that's what's missing in it. Like, I had that luxury of like the youth service and that as a kid growing up. I had the kids club, I had the after school clubs, all sorts. Was fucking amazing. Like, I absolutely loved it. And if I could go back and just sort of be able to just redo it how it was, I would, because, look how I turned out, man. Yeah, I still swear and that, but I don't feel like that should be an issue. And that shouldn't really question people whether I am a Christian or not. And I feel like that's what bugs me the most. It's like, if I'm not at church as often, people are just like, oh yeah, well, her faith is slipping. I'm like, no, it's not. It's because I've got other things on, And that's what that annoys me. It's just like, that's why I never ask for any help when it comes to like people at church, because I don't want them to see like, I'm only asking because I'm at church, and I wouldn't do it if I wasn't at church. And it's just like, no, I'm asking because I need help, and that's what they're supposed to do. And I don't want it to be associated with me coming to church so often, because there's going to be times when I'm going to have to work a Sunday and I'm not going to be able to get to church and that. And as much as I'd love to sort of dedicate my whole life to it, it's not a practical thing at the moment. Maybe like later down the line, I don't know, innit? But nowadays I just go to see people. As much as I do believe in that, it's just, especially the couple, the pastor and his wife and that, they are quite old now. But there's just, the bloke especially, both of them really, they were always asking how I am, if I found a job yet, and, his face, it's weird because like, to this day, he still has a smile on his face when he sees me. Like, he's genuinely happy to see me. And again, he's another person like Claire that watched me grow up, and sort of, he must have heard through his daughter everything that I went through as a kid, and sort of muddling through, really. And then obviously he was there for us when my mum passed, and they came to the funeral, which I wasn't expecting at all. And I understand that they wanted to pay their respects, but with him being so unwell, I wouldn't have put it past him not to come, to be honest. And she spoke at the funeral as well. And again, it's just one of them where it's just like, yes, it was her job when we were little kids, but then somehow it became more than that after we got older. It was like, almost like, she was put in our lives for a reason. I don't know. But I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what I've got on my mug. So I've used 3 different Jeffree Star eyeshadow palettes. I've used the Alien palette and then these 2. I used, what did I use for my primer? I used the Revolution primer. It smells like coconuts. And then foundation is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation. We have blusher and bronzer is the number 7. Blusher is the number 7 matte blush. Bronzer is the Maybelline City Bronzer, which is that. And then you got it. And then for eyebrows, it was the brow Benefit Brow thing. Eyeliner was Revolution somewhere. Yeah, was it Revolution? Oh, it's that. Yeah, Revolution Pro. It's like a brownishy purple, which I quite like. And then lipstick and lip liner are another Revolution lipstick liner, and this Revolution Pro in Insight. And that is my whole face and my life as grown up in church, kind of. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.